What's good? It's your host Shay of the Well Wired Podcast. Now today I wanted to talk a little bit about the why, right? Why do I do or why should you do what it is that you really want to do? Or in other words, your purpose, right? I feel like a lot of people talk about this concept of a purpose, but the thing I don't like about other people, other manospheres talking about purpose is that they don't really add anything onto it. Anyway, they don't really add on to it. It's just kind of like, all right, focus on your purpose and you know, better yourself. Woohoo! Like what? They tell you like, guys, go find your purpose and work on yourself. It's like, bro, what? What does that even mean? What does that mean? I don't feel like most of them like going in depth with it. Now, am I saying it's the wrong kind of information? I think they're right. No, I think they're right. It just doesn't make a lot of like sense per se. It's like, bro, most people don't even think about what they're gonna eat for breakfast. What makes you think they're gonna think about, how to go about fulfilling their deeper purpose? Like that just doesn't, like, just saying it doesn't really do much, right? So I think here I'm kind of here to explore that a little bit, and who knows, maybe I might not do any justice to it itself. I might not be capable of explaining it completely to some of you, but to some degree I'm going to try my best to go in depth with it, because I think it's a concept that is extremely important, but to really understand and grasp the meaning of what it actually is and how you go about doing it is like more important, right? So, and by no means am I saying they're wrong, again, because finding your purpose isn't some like 24-hour challenge or some shit that you just sit down and do. It's kind of like how I talked about in the shadow episode on my podcast. If you haven't listened to that, by the way, links in the description. But it's not a one-day process. This is like a lot of introspection, a lot of contemplation, a lot of you thinking to yourself. Now I'll start to go into what I think purpose really means, and I'm also going to reference a book that I think does a great job of explaining it. So first of all, what is purpose, right? What does it mean? Your purpose is basically that thing that you know you need to do deep down inside, in order to provide value and give value to the world, because it is something that is so much bigger than yourself. And like, for example, we can use literally me as an example, right? But I can get into that a little bit later. But let me talk about some of the prerequisites that I think are required to be able to kind of like go about your purpose, right? To go into depth and like finding it. And the first one being mental health. Being in the proper headspace is very important for you to be able to think straight and not worry about thoughts that are very intrusive in nature and getting to your mind. Very, very much, very emotional thoughts that'll blind any rationality and prevent you from thinking in the long term. Because I think a purpose is something that you think about for the long term. What is the value that it provides? That's what I want you to go in thinking about purpose. What is it that you bring to the table? What kind of value is it that you're bringing about into the world, when it comes to purpose, right? And that could literally be anything. That could be the job that you're wanting to pursue. Let's say you want to become like a lawyer or a doctor. That's fine. But the issue with most people's purpose is that people don't try. People don't try to find out. They don't want to. They just want the simple, or supposedly the simple or easy route, wherever life guides them, which is terrible advice. And then they end up somewhere where they don't want to, realizing that they were living like a damn shell the entire time. So it's like, all right, what is it that you really want to do? And you have to sit down and think about it. So one, mental health. Second thing that kind of goes along with mental health is solitude. Solitude, I think there's a lot of value and by solitude, I do not mean lone wolf mentality, because I think relationships are important part of your life, right? But again, by that I do not mean lone wolf mentality. It is more, solitude is more as in you put yourself in a position where it's you and your thoughts and what you think about, and that puts you in a position to finally be away from all the distractions, everything, and think about what it is that you exactly want to do, because then you'll be away from the influence of others, per se, and what they think or what they care, right? You'll kind of be in that world of your own. But like I said, again, mental health has to play a role before solitude, because a lot of us, when we're alone, we're not thinking about how we can level up. We're always thinking about, like, we always have intrusive thoughts, the thoughts that we choose not to have, or not things that we want. So if you want to learn a little bit more about mental health, because in this I'm gonna be very vague about it, I'm just telling you steps, right? You can listen to the whole spiel on my podcast, because I go into different ways you can improve on your mental health. Like a crash course would be like a better sleep, better meditation, but there's way more you can do to improve that. But I think those are like two basic things that people should do 100%, along diet, exercise, meditation, sleep, like these basic fundamental things that you should be doing to be in a better headspace, and then staying away from certain things to then further be in a better headspace, add on to that. So not only staying away from those things, the bad things, and then also doing the good things. So there's a big distinction. You can't only do the good things while still having the bad things, and you can't just stop doing the bad things and not do the good things. So again, very vague description of anything mental health, but like I said, I think you need to work on the mental health to be in the right headspace, so that when you are in solitude, but again, repeat, mental health, solitude. Now, one other thing that I want you to consider is how much it is that you care about the opinions of others. And I want to go a little bit more in depth with this one, right? A little bit more in depth, nothing crazy. When it comes to caring about the opinions of others, there's like, to some degree, it's okay. Some people will go way to the extremes and say, do not give a shit about what other people think, right? No, it doesn't matter. Just stop caring. And then there's other scenarios where it's like, I think you should care. I think it's good, right? And that all comes down to what kind of feedback it is you're receiving. Then you'll see what it is that you think about, or you visualize, or what it is that you really want. And solitude does not mean like imprisoning yourself, or being like imprisoning yourself to just yourself, right? It can seem that way when you have bad mental health, again, but it's more of like a relaxed, enjoying your energy, your peace of mind away from everything else, kind of like I'm doing in my backyard right now. I have no one, I'm just enjoying my time in the present moment, and it's nice, it's beautiful. I have visualizations, I think to myself while I'm making these videos, so it's kind of nice. For example, whenever you receive feedback, I need you to think for yourself how relevant that feedback is for you. Discard information that isn't useful, and stop looking at it as if something someone's going to tell you is going to like hurt your feelings or whatever. I think that's a really dumb way to look at it. Don't look at comments, or even if they're meant to trigger you emotionally, don't look at them as something that is something that you need to get worked up about. You need to view it as something that is just there to how do I say this? You need to see all piece of feedback like it's just information that you either implement or you disregard. That is it. Like me personally, like I get criticisms about podcasts or my YouTube channel, which I think is phenomenal. I think that's great. I love you people watching out there. I love that you do that. Keep that shit up, because that I have to kind of think about what I'm saying or doing, and it adds on. and it helps me further explain points that I might not have gone to in depth. Like for example, on the last morning routine video, I talked about cold showers, and someone asked me why would I do that, and then I explained to them, I take cold showers to kind of energize myself in the morning, keep myself clean, and it's kind of like a mental challenge for the day to like toughen myself up and know that I got through that, and like I can check that off my list, and I can go into my day like strong, knowing that I have what it takes to accomplish all of that, right? When it comes to caring about the opinions of others, right, there's a perspective in the book called The Way of the Superior Man, and this is going to be a very harsh perspective, so I would get yourself ready. Listen to what it says in this chapter right here. It says, imagine that your father has died, or remember when he did die. Are there any feelings of relief associated with his death? Now that he is dead, is any part of you happy that you need to live up to his expectations or suffer his criticisms? How would you have lived your life differently if you have never tried to please your father? So now apply that, and take that and apply that with most of the people that you feel like have some sort of control over you in your decision making, right? Whether that be people that you think are gonna judge you from either like school, work, university, whatever it is, or your family or your household. And I know how dark of a visualization this could be, or interpretation, but it really makes you think. It puts shit into perspective. Like, would you still pursue the things that you deep down want to pursue if these people were not around, right? So you got to ask yourself these questions, and you have to kind of live as if with that not giving a fuck mentality, and doing what it is that you love on the side. Of course have like that, build up everything around you, educate yourself, go to work if need be. You need something. I'm not gonna bullshit you and say, but like, try to have time where you work on that higher purpose. But again, in this book, The Way of the Superior Man, there's another great explanation of how someone finds their purpose. And the author kind of talks about these circles of purpose, kind of like a big diagram. Like it goes from a big circle to a smaller circle to the smaller circle inside another small circle inside another small circle, right? So basically the concept there is that as you go through life, you'll be doing things that kind of go down into these circles one by one and penetrate straight all the way to your purpose, whatever that may be, right? Get to the core of what it is. So for example, I've seen this play out in my life, right? Back in high school, I just wanted to help people, right? I didn't know what way I could, so that was like kind of like peeling back one layer, the most surface layer of the circle. All right, help people. I remember I used to play a lot of video games. Basically, even then, I would like making that connection with people and talking to them, and then talking to them about what kind of problems. That was another layer of my purpose. I was like, all right, I'm talking to these people and I'm trying to figure out what it is in their lives that they're not content with, and I try to like talk to them about it and try to relate to them. And then I go through another level when I decide to become a psychology major, and I wanted to try helping people with whatever there is their mind holds on to, and I was just really interested in knowing about the mind. I still am to this very day. And then now I'm going down into another layer of purpose and peeling back on that, and getting closer to the core. It's like I've started the podcast and I've started the YouTube channel, which I really want to take all those experiences and that psychological perspective that I'm getting from taking classes over in college, even to some degree, if I might not want to or like to, right? It's like, I think gaining that knowledge, specifically for psych, I think is important. I could use other subjects and whatnot to talk about different concepts, but specifically for psych, I think I like using that as a way to talk about a lot of the issues and whatnot, and then have my own perspective on it. So if you notice the trend, it's like you're peeling back layers of yourself and finally getting closer and closer to what it is at that core that you really want. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know if I'm there. I'm really young, so I don't even know if I'm close, or people that are a lot older than me don't even know if they're very much close to that, or maybe some haven't even started. I would say most haven't even wanted to think about something like this because they don't like being alone with their thoughts, and that's a lot of issues of like that's a lot of mental health issues and trauma and whatnot. So that's why I say mental health is a step, and then solitude, because you need to clear up your mind and finally be able to think about the things that will help you in the future and get you to where you need to be to feel the most fulfilled and have the most meaning, not necessarily the most happiness, right? Because happiness is an emotion, it comes and goes, but fulfillment and meaning is like, it stays there even through like the hardship. And it's primarily what makes up the purpose and why it's called the purpose, and why it can be associated with the concept of why do it, right? It's like what Viktor Frankl said. It's like a man that can, it goes, I'm paraphrasing this, but it goes something along the lines of a man that has a why can bear any how, right? So it's like you need a reason, and you need a purpose, which is basically what you want to do and what it is that you value and what you think you can bring to the world, and then why it is that you're pursuing that over everything else that you could possibly be doing. And the explanation to that could be as simple as like, you just feel it deep down in your core that it's something that you really just want to do, you know? So like I said, mental health, solitude, the opinions and or the feedback of others, and then once you have a lot of those prerequisites for the most part, then you can look to finding your purpose and or discovering it, which is thinking about the layers that you've peeled back for yourself so far that have allowed you to get closer and closer to what it is that you really want to do. You don't have to think about what it is that you really want to do. Just fulfill that purpose that you have right now, and you'll get closer and closer, and you'll get a better taste for life and realize, all right, this is more what so I want to lean into and specialize into and kind of like get a grasp for. So you slowly kind of get to that core through time and through just being genuine and honest and authentic with yourself about what it is that you really want to do. Now, practical ways you can do that, write it down. I talk about it in The Power of Ink. This is why that was like the first podcast episode I ever made, The Power of Ink. You write that idea down, it's just there now for you to reflect upon. Even with good mental health, it is hard to think. People don't realize this, but it is really actually difficult to think, especially as you get older. You can't, like, thoughts come and go like that, so not putting them down. Like every time I get a podcast idea, I have to write it down because it could vanish right then and there. My mind is always thinking about things every single time, every day, every second. I'm always contemplating about something, so I like to journal it or write it down, and things such of that nature. And then be introspective. You know, like I said, it takes time. It's not like this is, of course, a more in-depth version of how one should go about trying to find their purpose or discovering it, and maybe it's not like the practical like the advice you hear everybody else talk about, which is just go find your purpose, you know, something that you do or whatever. Okay, and something else that I wanted to touch on the third point, which is like caring about the opinions of others and whatnot. Look, there's going to be times where there's very strong influence in your life for you to want to feel as if you need to prove something to someone. A show I watched years back, Avatar, y'all have probably watched it, right? But the relationship between Uncle Iroh and Zuko. For those of you that have watched, you might know, but Uncle Iroh is basically like the wise uncle, or and then Zuko is kind of like the prince. And Zuko basically feels as if he has something to prove to his father, something along those lines. If I'm wrong, let me know. But he feels as if he has something to prove, and then Iroh keeps telling him, like, is this like a purpose that someone has forced on you, or is this something that you really want to do? Iroh keeps questioning Zuko about that over and over until Zuko finally like comes into the headspace and like changes. You know, so like I said, it's a matter of pick your poison. You go down one road or the other, and there's going to be discomfort in both. But what you might come to realize is that if you don't do what it is that you know you need to do, and is your purpose and the thing that you value the most, it will leave you as a shell of a person, and that comes in the consequence of time. A lot of time will pass, and it's like, what do you choose to value more, the time or the opinion? It's really up to you. So put it like that. And that time is something you can't get back either. It is not. And that opinion is like very momentary, what people think of it. Now, does that mean dismiss everything or everything that anybody says ever? No. Like I said, take it as feedback. Do not associate it with yourself emotionally whatsoever, because that will lead you down a path where you start to act very impulsively and you won't think rationally. You need to use what everybody's saying as like, you need to see it all as constructive criticism, even if it may not be. I know how dumb this sounds. Even if the hate or the love isn't, you need to take it all as like constructive criticism and see like, okay, is this really where I want to go? And it's okay to say no. Like I'll do that all the time. People tell me implement these ideas. I'm like, nah, that just doesn't go with my vibe, or I'm not gonna do this for this very reason. The entire point of criticism is that like you can learn to grow and improve. And by that, I'm not saying that you only listen to what you want. Damn, bro, my phone started overheating. My phone was out in the sun. But like I said, constructive criticism is there for you to be able to think on and learn from and grow, right? Like I said, solitude, mental health, the opinions of others, those will put you in the position to discovering your purpose. And then how you do so, how it'll manifest is if you maybe write about it, think about it, visualize it, those things that come into your mind every time you daydream or whatever it is. You're like, wow, that'd be nice. That'd be so nice and so fulfilling. Do that, bro. Do that. And start now. The perfect time will never come to approach your purpose. There'll never be like, if I make X amount of money, or if I do X or Y thing, if I do X, Y, Z, then I can start doing it. Like, no, start right now. Start in whatever way you can. They're true to some degree. There will be limitations that you might have depending on what you do, right? But that does not mean, do not let that be an excuse to not start on what it is that you really want to do. So that's all I got for y'all. Like I said, if you like the content, hit the button. All right, y'all, let's become legends. Peace.